What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Goon Squad Gamers Podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, The Flash. We're here with another episode, and this one's a good one. It's Red Dead Redemption and Red Dead Redemption 2. It's the Western game that pulled at most of our heartstrings. I'm joined by my fellow co-host here today. Take it away, guys.
What is up, guys? V Savage Outlaw coming to y'all live from on the road in Johnstown, PA. Ready to do some Red Dead talking. Giddy up, Joe. We ready to go?
Hell yeah. It's your boy Joe, ready to talk about one of our favorite games with my fellow compatriot.
Hey everyone, I am Moose, and I'm definitely looking forward to talking about one of our favorite cowboy games. Let's get into it.
All right, so Red Dead Redemption has been a game that's been around for a while. We all played Red Dead Redemption 1 first, and then when Red Dead Redemption 2 came out, we were like, well, is this game going to take place beforehand or after? Because none of us really knew until the game came out, and we were like, who are we playing now? So I always thought it was interesting that they followed up with the later game before the like the game went reverse
It
chronologically, kind of like what Star Wars did.
Yeah, and
But
the thing of it is like, you know, that was always a question that everybody had. Are we going to be continuing the story of John's son, or are we going to be going back before John became a loner? And we got the answer, and it was actually a really good story.
yeah, I think it was
and
interesting too, between the two games. I think it was interesting, like you were John most of the game, and then you were his son, and that's where the game came from, redemption. The son redeems the dad, I guess, in a way. It's more avenges, if you ask me. But
Yeah.
he the premise is the same. And then with the second Red Dead Redemption, you're John redeeming Arthur, and I think it was a good way of making the two flow together, honestly. Like it had a coherent storyline, and it was nice to see Jack all the way through. Like from beginning to end, you got to see where he started from and why he is the way he is now too. I think it was very,
Mm.
very interesting the way they did that.
Yeah, 100%.
and
And
I like how there's like a lot of side characters too, like from the
Yeah.
first game into the second. Like they integrated into the story very well. Like that the what was it, the big bear. They had the scar in its face in Red Dead
Yep.
oh
1.
yeah. Yeah, no,
That's
you
because
definitely don't like think things like that are gonna carry through between games, but Rockstar did a good job with that, honestly.
oh
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what disappointed me in Rockstar's decision, and something that they did later on down the road. We'll talk about it, but yeah, that it was really disappointing. Once we got later on down the road with Red Dead Redemption 2. So, but we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in the first Red Dead, there wasn't really like much to the online either. Like it
No.
was fun and it was a good intro to early Red Dead Redemption, like what online could be. But Red Dead Redemption 2 really stepped it up like a lot. Like there
Oh
were
yeah.
more missions, there were more you could do. Like the original Red Dead game, all you could do is like you could rob a few places, you could take a few forts, stuff like that, simple things. But then Red
So I
Dead
feel like it
Redemption
was good for the
adds,
time.
yeah, it
It was
was.
what,
And
like 13 years ago.
Mm.
yeah, and like for back when those games came out, it was still kind of ahead of its time, and Rockstar's been very good about that in general, taking games and putting them ahead of their time. But even just the
Yep.
Well, and
story,
yeah, and
like
I mean, Red Dead Redemption 1 came out in 2010. That's when the Xbox came out. And,
Yep.
with that, there wasn't a whole lot that you could do back then. For the time it came out, there was plenty for us to do because, we didn't know any better. And then once the system started upgrading, we went up to the Xbox One, then all of a sudden here comes Red Dead Redemption 2, and it's like, oh wow, I can do so much more.
I mean, you have to give your character a bath in Red Dead Redemption 2, or people are gonna make comments about you, like like you're too hairy, or you need to shave, or you smell bad. Like they're gonna make those comments, and like that's something they couldn't do back in 2010.
And that was the
Very well
beauty
done.
of Red Dead Redemption 2, because like the NPCs in Red Dead Redemption 2 were actually like they seemed like actual characters. Not just the people that you associated with, but just random NPCs in general.
Mhm.
You know,
Which it's crazy to think that game came out like 5 years ago too.
yeah,
It doesn't
Yeah,
feel like it
for
came out that long ago.
yep,
It doesn't feel
2018.
like that.
It doesn't,
yeah,
you know, because I
for
mean,
for
it's still a
what
game
the
that we
game
play.
is.
Yep.
Yeah, for what the game is, like even still, like even now, that game would still hold up if Rockstar would add something new to it, something exciting. Like
Yep.
that game would still hold up now because some companies are now just catching up to what Rockstar did with that game. Like the graphics, the
Like
immersiveness.
Mhm.
It's just and that goes without the online mode even. Like the online mode, you got to make your characters, put yourself in the Western genre. But even in
yep.
the story mode, like you developed relationships with these characters and grew attached to them. So when something happens to them, which we are about to get into right now,
Yep.
um, you feel it. Like, I mean, let's go into this actually. What death hit you guys the hardest between either game? Between either game, what death hit you guys the hardest?
Yeah, I'm gonna be that basic person, man. John's death. You know, you
Yep.
go through the ring with John, all right, and it's like you do everything that you do just to get your wife and your kid back, just for you to die at the end of the game. Now we're gonna talk more about it, but like that hit hard because like so much you did so much just to get them back, just to lose them because you ended up losing your life at the end of the game.
That was
Yep.
definitely a hard one. What about
Yep.
either of you guys? What did you guys think hardest death between either game?
I'm gonna have to say Arthur when you have the what was it, good karma or whatever, because like he just dies looking at the sunset with all of his injuries and sickness. I'm just like, he deserves so much better if you go that route.
Yep. Yep. I
Both main
definitely agree
characters.
with that. Yeah. And I definitely like a game where it like gets you attached to the characters and then it like gets you like feeling for them. So I definitely like that about the stories. And then if anyone played the Undead Nightmare,
Uh,
Butcher's wife dies at the beginning too. So that I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, I forgot about Undead Nightmare.
I think for me, Red Dead Redemption 2 as a whole had some of the hardest deaths to
Oh yeah.
watch. Like as a whole, I think those were the hardest. And Arthur's was sad, but I feel like that's the easy answer as well. No offense, Joe, but I feel like that is the
oh,
easy
okay.
answer. I think the hardest death was Sean McGuire, right in the middle of Rhodes. They just
Oh yeah.
and the fact that he was so young and everyone was so attached to his character and he just looked up to Arthur so much and then he
Yeah.
just gets and I'm like, oh, that one was the hardest one for me. But another death I feel like they didn't give enough justice to was Lenny
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
because he didn't even get a cutscene for his death. He was
Mm.
like
Nope.
he gets shot on the rooftop. Arthur kneels by him for a second, and they're like, "We gotta go. We can't stay here." I feel like his death deserves so much more justice.
Yeah.
But that was the tough one for me. But those games have been one of the most immersive games I think I have ever played. It made you feel like you were in the Western genre between
Yep.
hunting, the bounties, all of that stuff, even growing attached to your own horse. Like,
Hmm.
Yep.
it's so immersive and it was so well done. And whoever wrote those stories for those games did such a good job. I mean, look at the first one,
Yep.
for example. This guy gets taken away from his family and he has to hunt down his old gang members that he used to consider family, only to get his current family back. Like, think of how much emotional trauma he had to go through during that. Like, those people were his brothers.
Oh yeah, and I mean it's like you know this dude basically grew up because he went from being a young man at the start of Red Dead Redemption 2, and then all the way to the person that we see at the start of Red Dead Redemption 1. That is a total mind twist, by the way. But
Yep.
yeah, it's like this guy, goes through hell and high water in Red Dead Redemption 1. Um, but it was so enjoyable. I enjoyed it so much.
And it's it's weird to see it too. Like you played through the Red Dead Redemption 1 game and you get through the entire story of that game, and then Red Dead Redemption 2 comes out, which honestly I was starting to doubt was ever even gonna come out, to be honest with you. But when it did come out, and I'm like, okay, so who is Arthur? Because he was never once mentioned in the first game, which Rockstar did a
Yep.
good job of covering for themselves, saying, "Oh, he wasn't planned, but let's give an explanation as to why." When at the end, John's like, "Let's not talk about him again." But you see John as the runt essentially, but he's still like the son that one of Dutch's sons, basically. That's the relationship, and but he's also the runt. Like he's the smallest. He's always left behind, or he gets hurt, or something happens where they baby him. So he's basically the runt of the gang, and you see that. And then you see
Yeah.
him in the first game, and he's the one calling the shot. Well, not necessarily calling the shots, but he's making all these decisions like he's the big man.
Yeah, and Big Man decides that he's gonna go after what was his name, Consuela or something like that. Goes after him first at the start of that game, and then he gets gunned down trying to break into the fort. And then Mrs. McFarlane and her dad picks him up, and then you wake up at the McFarlane Ranch, and yeah, it was. You develop a very good character relation with I think her name was Bonnie McFarlane, I believe.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
doing stuff on the farm, all the stuff that John's been wanting to do, he's doing right there, smack dab in the middle of this game.
hmm Yeah, and it was actually kind of interesting too, and I'm gonna go back to Red Dead Redemption 2 real quick here. That ranch is in Red Dead Redemption 2, and Bonnie is there, and you can get missions from her as well. So that brought back that little shred of nostalgia that I had playing Red Dead Redemption when I could visit that ranch and she's there, and you're like, whoa, that's kind of cool. But
It definitely helps
and
the immersion of the game.
yeah, exactly. Like it shows there's a coherent storyline and that they put in the work, they put in the detail to making this game as immersive as humanly possible. And I think
Yeah.
they did a really good job. Like honestly, really good job. Although I will say the customizations, because we all know that's my favorite part of any game, was a little
What?
lacking in the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, like I said, it was more of a story based. Customization wasn't really their main focus. And I think the reason that customization became a main focus in the second one was because they were also introducing. They had more to work with because they were they were on a new system with the PS3 and or the PS4, excuse me, but the PS4 and the Xbox One. So they had a little bit more to work with. Plus, online was coming.
Yeah, I mean, and online, like I know they did it with GTA, and they do it with games like that all the time. Like, but the online for Red Dead Redemption just felt so cool because it really puts you in that environment as well. You got to buy your own horse, and it was different than if you did that with like anything else because like the horse is a living thing. So
Hmm.
like you get to, and they added a bonding thing with it in Red Dead Redemption 2 as well. And that honestly, especially in the story mode, got me so attached to that horse that when it
Yep.
dies, I'm just like, come on, you killed the horse too. Like you can't let one thing live in this game. Like Red Dead Redemption 2, everybody dies. Like, and the people that don't die are the people you're not close to.
Yeah. So, um, let's get a little bit more into Red Dead Redemption 1. Throughout Red Dead Redemption 1, you go basically all the way across the entire Western Plains, Blackwater, eventually. But you start at the McFarland Ranch, Armadillo, and then eventually you do have to go to Mexico. Um, so like it was widespread in the things that you had to do, missions that you had to do, side missions that you had to do, very widespread. I think the trip that you had to take to Mexico was actually a lot of fun because it was a little bit different from the rest of it. I mean, you still had the mission of trying to kill one of your old gang members, but it was just it felt different.
Yeah, that mission to go find Javier was something, honestly, because it took you on all these little like other paths that
Hmm.
you're like, I don't want to do this. And John was like, I don't want to do this, which made you feel like I don't want to do this. So
Yeah.
like those missions became such but the environment and the like relationships you developed were so intriguing at the same time.
Yep. So, but yeah, Mexico was a lot of fun. And then it gets down to it where you're hunting them down one by one. You're on a mission. And the thing of it is, you're really only on this mission because you're trying to save your wife, or you're trying to get your wife and your child back. Because the cops are assholes, and they want their own. They have their own. They needed leverage in order to be able to get you to do something because you don't want to kill your brothers. You may not want to be a part of the rough and get of it. You may want to just settle down, but come on, they're your brothers. You don't want to go and kill them.
Yeah.
And and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's only three of them, right? In that game? It's Bill Williamson,
Yeah,
it's Javier. I forget his last name. What was it?
Hisuelo,
Spoiler.
Hisuelo.
Yes, yeah, that. And it's Dutch.
Yeah,
I
which I
unless
mean,
I'm wrong. I know it's those three, but is there any more beyond that?
I don't think
I
so.
I
don't.
I haven't played the game
no.
in 10 years, so.
yeah, it's been a minute since I played it, but I think it couldn't have been much. If it was more, it couldn't have been much more. I mean, you
I
obviously
didn't
had
think
your other
so.
missions that you had to do. One of the fun things, that Red Dead Redemption got me into was, I mean, granted, I was doing the whole gambling thing before that because I was I was already starting to turn into older. I was almost 18 when it came out, but gambling. You got to play poker and Texas Hold'ems and all the fun games. And if you got a certain suit, there was a certain suit that you could get, and it like increased your ability to basically cheat the deck. You know, um, hiding cards. I think is what you were doing. But if you got caught though, you were dead. And I mean, literally, you were dead. They will kill you if they caught you. But
I mean,
yeah, the
that's
gambling
fair.
aspect was fun. The gambling aspect was definitely fun.
What
So,
was everybody else's favorite part of the game? Like, if you had to, and between both, honestly, between both, if you can't think of one from one game, just between both, what was your favorite parts? Like, I mean, for me it was probably bounty hunting. Like, I really enjoyed bounty hunting
Yeah.
a lot. But what about the rest of you? What else was your favorite parts?
Well, Conrad, you should already know the answer to that, but it's hunting.
Yeah.
I
I
mean, yeah,
just
true.
loved hunting.
yeah, the hunting aspect was probably the best part, especially when you got to the online part of Red Dead Redemption 2, because you could become a naturalist, and when you became a naturalist, you got all these new pheromones and scents and stuff like that helped you track these animals down. Um, Granted, the person that you were technically working for didn't want you to kill them. She just wanted samples of them.
Yeah.
But if you killed them, there was another person, kind of like a side thing. If you helped him, you got the hide from those special animals, and you were able to wear their pelts. And
I
I made that a freaking hobby. I was going
I
after
know.
I was going after the special gator pelts, wolf, fox, like you name it. I was going
I
after them.
So me and Joe play Red Dead a lot, and I know he would take me on hunting trips solely to get that stuff. But
Yeah.
I mean, I've also played a lot of Red Dead with Moose too. And Moose, tell everybody what your favorite part of it was.
I mean, aside from bounty hunting, which is one of my favorites too, um, I honestly, this isn't like an official thing or anything, but the like massacring the entire town of Saint Denis.
The amount
Like
of
whenever we're bored,
times, the amount of times we get bored on that game and go to Saint Denis
and,
or
yeah,
Blackwater and just
yeah,
go at
just
it.
kill everyone. Oh
At
well, a
Saint
witness saw
Denis,
it.
Yeah, it was literally, oh, we have a witness. Can't have that. So we would literally roll into Saint Denis, go to the weapons store, and stock up.
And then just get all of our ammo and then just kill everyone. And I just loved like doing like random kills too. Like I'd run people over with my horse, or I'd like lasso them and like try to drag them all over the place and stuff like that. I definitely like that.
Yeah, we used to. We would try to lasso each other even. Like we would,
Yeah.
especially Joe. My God, every time I walked by Joe, he would try to. I'd be minding my own business. I'd maybe want to go get some new clothes because that's just what I do in every game. And Joe freaking lassos me as I'm just trying to walk in the store, and then just takes me on his horse and just drags me on along. Ugh.
I can't
It was kind of
remember.
funny.
I can't remember. So I think we were just outside of Saint Denis. Flash, I think you jumped in the middle of it. Either that or my buddy Dan did. But we just got done finishing up a bounty mission, I think, and then I think I accidentally shot somebody, and then I went after the witness, and then all of a sudden it started turning into a freaking bloodbath. Dan comes in, he's like, "What are y'all doing?" And we were just like, "We're killing witnesses." And then he
No,
jumps in, and then next thing you know, we're just going after all these freaking people keep running by because it always seemed like there was somebody that witnessed it. And then we
Yeah.
ended up running into an actual player, and then he kept griefing us because I had a bounty on me, and then we kept wrecking him, and then I ended up getting banned for a day after that.
Who who was I playing with when the people, I think it was Joe, when the people were hiding in the
That was
photography
just me.
place in Saint Denis? Oh, that was with
Oh
you?
no,
Yeah. Hmm.
the photography place. I was thinking of something else.
No, there were people hiding in a photography place because they had immunity there. And
Yeah.
we were waiting outside. We were just standing there waiting for them, and they kept messaging us. They're like, "Bro, leave, let us go." And I'm like, "You started this." I was literally like, "You started this. We're not leaving." So I
It
think it was Joe that was with me, and we just waited out there.
no. The weird thing is we were in a posse and we had a third random guy with us, and he was really high level and really good at the game. And he saw us messing with these guys, and then he joined them and started fighting us.
Oh yeah, he because we were bullying them, for lack of better terms. We
Yep.
were definitely bullying them, but
well, I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
it's kind of an unwritten rule because I mean,
You
if
start
somebody
messing
starts
around.
if somebody starts messing with you and you got your posse with you, you make their life a living hell. And I
Yep.
mean that in the biblical sense. You kill them no matter how many times it takes. And we did this so many times. Somebody would try and run up on us, and then it was the biggest mistake of their life. And then they'd be running like a little, you know what? Because, oh no, I'm getting shot. I'm getting killed. Leave me alone. No, we are
well,
not going to leave you alone.
and our good buddy Joe right there has a little motto of um it's not, we don't play to get even. We play to win. And that's where our other motto comes in. It's not about winning. Finish
It's
it for
about
me,
being
boys.
toxic. It's about being
Exactly.
toxic. And we
That's
are a
that's
very, very toxic group, no
yeah, I
matter
mean,
what game.
we play to win, even if even if winning's not the objective.
We are going to win in our own aspect. It does not matter. It could be winning by just being the most toxic group in the entire game, or just whipping everybody's ass and standing on top with glory.
I
But
forget
that
who
game's
I was
given
doing it with.
us
Go
some
ahead.
good laughs though. It's
Oh
it's
yeah.
given us
It
some
really has.
really good laughs doing that
It
stuff.
really has.
So I
So,
was gonna say.
no, go ahead.
I'll forget who we were doing it with, but I think there was like three of us plus a random guy in our party, and we were trying to do like a bounty hunting mission, and he like kept messing it up on purpose. So, like we backed out and like started killing him a bunch.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
wasn't
I
it
know
like the
exactly what you're talking about.
was it the
What-
8-person bounty we were doing? And he just
I
like
think.
killed all the bounties instead of capturing them alive.
Yep.
Oh
Yep.
yeah, we were trying to stop him. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I know
Yeah.
what you're talking about now. Yeah, that was so annoying. Because we always try. So when we play Red Dead Redemption, if you've played Red Dead Redemption, you keep the bounty alive because you make more money that way. But
more money and more gold.
This person
Yeah.
just didn't care. So we backed out and we taught him a lesson. Of course, he was
and I
better
was
than
thinking,
all of
Oh,
us. Of course, he was better than
uh,
all of us, so didn't even matter. He ended up murking all of us, but
Flash, I was thinking of another time too when we were like fighting this posse and like they were hiding in the mine shafts and they were just like popping their heads around the corners and stuff and they had their elephant rifles and shotguns.
oh, the elephant
I think I
rifle.
remember this.
Yep.
Yeah,
Good
I
times.
was. I'm a fan of having the elephant rifle. I just don't like when
Yep.
other people have it because other people have it. They usually have more than one of them have it, so they just start popping them off
Yeah.
at you, and
Yeah.
you don't even stand a chance. So, but
Speaking of weapons, one of my favorite things that they had was the incendiary rounds.
Yeah.
Those bad
yeah,
boys were fun. Take a
oh yeah,
freaking repeater or a freaking or the volcano pistols and you add incendiary rounds and you are lighting the world on fire.
And
Literally.
then you just want to watch the world burn.
yeah, pretty much. That's
Yeah.
us in Red Dead. Although I still have yet to actually get incendiary rounds personally,
Yep.
but I still have yet to get a scope on a gun. I don't have a scope on any of them.
Scope
So,
helps
I
out a lot,
mean,
man. Especially
Yep.
especially
hunting
with
because you need to
hunting.
well, yeah, because you so when it came down to the hunting part, all right, yeah, shooting it, you still get to hide. But if you see a 3-star animal, all right, 3-star animals are worth so much more. So you want to shoot that bad boy in the head, all right, because you will preserve the body, you'll preserve the hide. Because I mean, the head's not really used for the hide or anything like that. And when you do the Crips missions for your trading company, uh, 3-star animals will help fill your inventory up faster. So yeah, the scope definitely helped a lot with that.
Yeah, see, I never really got too much into the hunting part, except when Joe was like, I'm gonna go do some hunting, and I'm like, well, I'm just gonna follow you. So, because it was the only thing good enough to do. I was just like, you know what, I'm not doing anything else. I'll just follow Joe on this hunting trip. And then he'd be taking this hunting trip all seriously, and I'd be going after turkeys.
I remember. I remember. So it was me, my buddy Dan, and my other buddy Mike Drip. So we ended up having like a couple random people join our Xbox party that we had found in the game, and all three of us had the legendary sorry, not bounty, the legendary hunts. So we had these random people that we were like, oh, let's get you a legendary hide, let's get you a legendary outfit. So we take them up, and they had to do the shooting or whatever, and then if they couldn't get it, we would help them out a little bit. But I remember this one dude, he was so desperate to get it, and he didn't have the gold to be able to purchase his own uh, naturalist thing. Dude paid me $10 to take him on a hunt and kill the animal for him and give him the hide. I think it
Like
was a
10,
freaking ram hide.
like 10 real dollars?
He he cashed out me $10. It was hilarious. I was like, okay. I was like, here, if you want to send money, here's my cash app. And I looked at my cash app the next day. There was $10 sitting, and from this random dude, I was like,
Well, shit.
okay,
I need to play with
I'll
the
make.
people you play with.
Shoot, if people wanted me to pay me to do video games for them, I'd do it.
Well, and
Yeah, like,
that's when Twitch came about. But
yeah,
you know,
pay me to do this for you in this video game because, I'm not gonna do it for free. If you're good at something, never do it for free.
I like how we're doing a
Mhm.
whole bunch of Joker quits right now.
Yeah,
That
after
episode was
last
yeah,
episode.
that episode was last.
But honestly though, like it shows how far people will even go for just something they want in a video game too. Like,
Yep.
I mean, Red Dead's not one of those games I'll drop a bunch of dollars on, but
No,
like
We
I can
already
you
see
don't
have
why
need
that
to.
for
people,
Fortnite.
yeah, but I see why people do drop a bunch of money on games like Red Dead. There's some cool stuff that you can get easier with money. And like sometimes people don't want to earn it honestly. I can attest to me not wanting to earn things honestly sometimes. So I mean, I don't blame
Like the
them.
Darth Maul skin in Fortnite.
Yeah, but anyway,
I can't
we're
say
we're
anything. I was guilty of that too.
Buying battle pass.
yeah, it happens to the best of us. But regardless, it's still funny to see that like when it's a game you don't invest that much money into. And it's funny to see someone like, I'm gonna pay you $10 to do this for me. Like,
Yep.
I just find that kind of funny.
It was
But
great. $10 came in handy.
Yeah.
I mean,
but like
$20.
but like Red Dead also, like I'm gonna take a moment here while we're talking about it to say that with all the money they've invested in doing Red Dead Redemption, that game had so much wasted potential.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they could have gone so much further with that game than they did. Like we could have added full on bank heists, full on train robberies. Like you can rob a train in the story mode, but you
Yeah,
can't
but
legitimately rob a train in online.
Yeah.
same thing with banks too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
like
so disappointing. It really was. It was so disappointing because, you know, and we understand. I understand why Rockstar puts so much effort into their GTA program because that's what gives them the most money. But those of us that prefer something like Red Dead, not Joe, because we know Joe loves his GTA, but GTA has just gotten so freaking ridiculous, and people are still playing it. People are still dropping money on it, and it just left Rockstar to like almost completely, and that eventually do completely forget about Red Dead, and they left so much on the table for it, so much on the table.
yeah, I mean, you can do all this stuff in the story mode. And even the story mode had they could have gone further with, I feel like as well. But you could do all this stuff in the story mode, and when the online came around, you couldn't add that code to the online as well. Like you can legitimately go through a train in the story mode and rob it. Like you
Yep.
can do that, but in the online, you couldn't add the code to do it there. Like, I mean, I don't know how, like, cause I only got an
Evidently not.
introductory. Yeah, well, cause I only got an introductory course in coding in college, but I feel like it wouldn't have taken that much more effort to move that code over into the online. I could be wrong, but I feel like that isn't such a difficult, like, fix or add, you know?
Yep.
One cool thing that they did do with Red Dead that they didn't necessarily do in GTA. Now you can customize your character at the start of each of your online sessions when you first start. In both GTA and Red Dead. But one thing that they did for Red Dead, but they didn't do for GTA, you actually got to name your online character. Now I didn't name mine. My actual name. I actually ended up naming my character Roscoe West because my buddy Dan, they had formed a gang called the West Brothers. So everybody had to, come up with a name, and their last name was West. So I was like, you know what, Roscoe sounds like a good Western name. So I came up with Roscoe West. What do you guys remember what you named your characters?
I
I
think I
don't think I
did
gave
my
mine a
normal
name.
name. I think I did my normal
Uh,
name. I wasn't very creative with it.
Coming from the
I
guy that prefers creation over everything else.
I wanted
I
to pretend I was a cowboy. Sue me.
I will. See you in court.
I can't remember what I named my character, but I have a theme for when I get a new horse. I name it after like a movie. So, well, not like the movie name. So I have Ghostface and Red Rum. So,
I
Yes.
mean, horror movie theme, I kind of like it.
yeah.
But no,
Uh,
my horses were named after my old dogs. Like I got this one really big, beefy
Better.
horse, and that horse's name is Domino. I was torn between Domino and Mr. Butters, but I chose Domino. And the other one is like a smaller, stockier one, and that one's name is Minnie. And then I got the rinky dink starting horse, and that one's name is Yoda.
I think I actually ended up naming one of my horses Savage. Uh,
Yes.
I think it was my second horse that I ended up naming that. My first horse was a goldish brown horse. I named him Goldeneye. which
Nice.
was a perfect name for him.
It's pretty
I
good,
love
man.
that
I
horse.
think it would have been a missed opportunity not to name one of your horses Savage, though, honestly.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, yeah,
you
come
know,
on.
plainly stating your gamer tag, like it had to be. Honestly, I'm surprised I haven't named a horse Flash yet. Disappointed in
I
myself.
named so my dog that so you get a dog you can get a dog for your camp, and I actually named before me and you way before me and you even met. I actually named my because I was like big into the Flash series at the time,
Mhm.
still am, but yeah, I ended up actually naming my dog Flash.
Oh, what's my dog's name? I named my dog something. I just can't remember what I named it. I think I named it S'more. That's what I named it. I named my dog S'more because it was brown, black, and white.
Yeah, it was that little beagle.
Yeah.
I I named my dog after the dog I had at the time. I don't have her any longer, but I named her Snowflake.
I remember
That,
Snowflake.
that
Ah.
is a story in and itself.
Yeah, no,
One
I
thing
think
I
that was.
hated
Hmm?
One thing I hated was one of the dogs that you could get was a husky, but you could only get it if you had the battle pass way back at the beginning of the game. And I was so mad because I love huskies. Huskies are probably my favorite dog breed, just because they're so goofy and so silly. But and they're gorgeous animals. But yeah, that kind of hurt because it's like it was before I started playing Red Dead Redemption 2 online when that came
Yeah,
out. So
I didn't end up actually getting Red Dead Redemption 2 until during COVID actually. I got it in like when I was stuck at home. I ordered it online. I'm like, or digitally, not online. And I'm like, why not? Like I got nothing better to do right now. Might as well might as well try a new video game. So I bought Red Dead Redemption 2 on pure impulse. And by that point the game had already been out for a couple of years. So like
Yeah, two
obviously I
years.
wasn't getting any of that stuff. So, but like I would see my friends, my friend Austin and my friend Mike, they would play it all the time. I'm like, this looks like fun. And they're like, just make sure you take a shower. And I'm like, what? They're like, you have to actually bathe yourself in this game, otherwise people are gonna comment on your smell. And I'm like,
I don't think I
interesting.
ever did.
Sounds
I don't think I ever
sounds
did.
like a lot of work. Well, you had to for one of the missions in Red Dead Redemption 2, at least the story mode, because you get into a fight in Valentine and it's like you're rolling around in the mud with this guy and then Dutch and Trelawney approach you and they're like, clean yourself up. So you have to go to the hotel and take a bath. Like it forces you to.
Another thing they
Um,
But
did pretty good with the story. Go ahead, Savage.
no, I wasn't gonna say
yeah,
anything.
no, go.
Oh, so another thing they did pretty good in the story mode. I don't know if I noticed it in online, but for RDR2, if you like ate a lot of food, you Arthur got like extremely fat. So I thought that
Yeah.
was kind of funny. Yeah, any game
Yeah,
that adds that in.
they didn't implement that to online. Actually, I don't even think they implemented the bathing thing to online either.
They
I
Nope.
didn't.
think that for that was just for the story mode, and they put so much more effort into the story mode, honestly. Like you play it and you just know that more effort was put into that. But
I feel like they
they
should add that stuff to online. Like you have to eat, otherwise you get really skinny, but don't eat too much or get too fat, or take a shower so you don't smell.
Again, it goes
it
back to
would
what we were talking about with Rockstar not putting the effort into the online aspect like they should have.
yeah, the online
I
definitely
mean,
deserved a
honestly,
little more love.
Rockstar is like kind of buggy sometimes. Like I remember, like one time we were like pulling up to a place in canoes and like it started like glitching. We pulled up and got like a cutscene, and I just like started falling out of the sky a bunch. And I actually have it posted on
Oh,
my TikTok right now, but like I we just like kept looping it and falling from the sky a bunch for the cutscene. I thought that was kind of funny, and I
yeah,
think
I was
one
doing
time.
that mission with you.
And one time I was just like casually walking in story mode, and then my horse like just tripped on the railroad crossing. Like it was just like really weird.
Or how about those moments where you're going over a rock that's only about this big and the horse just goes sending it
Yep.
through the sky because it's the tiniest rock. It's literally like this big in comparison to your character, and your horse just goes woof, through the sky for no reason.
Yep.
And then you're just like flying through the air too, and you and your horse both take damage because it's like, oh great, some
Thing.
rock the size of my palm made my horse go flying through the sky. Oh, but that game does have some serious bugs they needed to work out and still
Oh
need to
yeah.
work out.
What was some of the most difficult animals you guys had to come across? I know, like, because you have to deal with freaking grizzly bears. The black bears run away from you, but you have to deal with freaking grizzly bears trying to kill you, alligators, um, wolves,
Wolves.
coyotes. Well, no, the coyotes you didn't have to worry about, but wolves, mountain lions, like jaguar or panthers.
In,
So what was some of the most difficult ones that you've had to go against? Besides the legendaries, those are obviously difficult.
Yeah. I would have to
well,
say either like the mountain lions or the jaguars, because I would just be like out on a hunting trip, and all of a sudden I just get attacked from behind by one of these things.
I would say, and I'm actually going to bring this other story up while we're on the topic of animals. Um, Alligators.
Yep.
Savage, you remember the story? We were playing
Vaguely,
with I think we were playing with Dan, and we were trying to feed someone to an alligator.
yes, now I remember.
we
I think
were
I was there for that
trying
too.
we were trying to feed someone to this alligator, and we were carrying him on our shoulders, and I'm watching from a distance, getting ready to take care of the alligator in case anything goes awry. And well, clearly I didn't do a good enough job. You'll see why when I finish this story. And we place the guy there, and the alligator doesn't go for him. So we're like, maybe he's too far away. So I think it was Dan moves the guy closer to the alligator. The alligator starts moving. So we're like, ooh, he's going for it. He's going for it. Well, the alligator did go for it. Not that guy. It went for Dan. And
Oh,
I'm like, well, he's dead now, but might as well you can take care of the alligator while I'm at it. Oh
Yeah.
my God, it was so funny though. I couldn't stop laughing after that happened. It was so funny.
and like what made it even better was Dan was just so mad. He was freaking cussing the entire time because he got freaking attacked by the gator that he was trying to freaking feed the other guy. But that was a lot of fun, man. Trying to freaking you take random NPCs, tie them up, and then or somebody that was after you, tie them up, and then you bring them to the freaking swamp, and then it's like, all right, gators, feeding time. Who wants
But
it?
honestly, those gators were probably the toughest animal for me. I would say they were a bit of a pain because like they took a ridiculous amount of shots to try to take care of as well, and like it was just it was a lot of work.
Well, it
But
depends
Well,
on what weapon you use too.
Yeah.
no, I also didn't have a good weapon either. So there is that.
No, you didn't. For me, it was the grizzly bears. Be just randomly hunting in the woods, and I hear just this big, roar, and then I freaking turn around. By the time I turn around, he's already on top of me, and I'm like, shh. And yeah, I'm gone.
yeah.
Yeah, grizzly bears were probably the most tough ones for me to face. And
Yeah,
they
I
weren't,
never.
even if you had a good gun, they were still hard to take down.
I never really had any issues with grizzly bears because I never like went in their areas. I usually had trouble with the gators like Flash because like they would just like sneak up on you on sometimes in the water. Like I'd forget about the gators and just be like walking towards the through the swamp and just like have a gator just like jump out of the water and tackle me.
Or when you were riding your horse through the swampy areas, your horse
Yep.
bucks you off into the water and you're at the mercy of the gators at that point. It's just like those were the biggest pains, honestly. And I
Yeah.
think
Yep.
me and Moose can safely agree on that one.
Yep.
One thing I hated was what's her face? She the naturalist lady.
Funny.
She had a freaking her setup was in the swamp, and like she had like gators all around her and stuff like that. But I couldn't stand that lady. because I'd be trying to like go over there and like buy supplies off of her, and she was so freaking pissed at you because you went out and killed her friends. And then she'd spray you with this freaking toxin that would make you pass out. And then you'd wake up and then you couldn't buy anything from her for like a half hour. This lady was so freaking annoying.
I remember that happened to Joe one time. He's like, "Are you serious?" Because I think we traveled from the snow area to get there. I'm pretty sure, and
Yeah.
and it was like we got there. It's like, yeah, you killed this animal. So then Joe just dumped the hide right in front of her, and then we just left.
And the thing is too, like, I think I accidentally like ran over a squirrel like on my horse as I was going down the road, and I was like, I had no control over that. The squirrel ran in front of me. What do you want me to do? Give
Yeah,
it
no,
mouth to mouth?
she's a stickler for those animals. You got to stick up
Well,
for
in
all of
Kirby
them,
stuff.
apparently. But oh
Yeah,
man,
something tells me that she was into certain things with animals that will not be mentioned. But yeah, she was heavy on them animals.
Yep.
but
Cared more about them than she did about human life.
No.
Yep.
I mean, that's another thing about Red Dead too, is you can tell some of these people have baggage. Some of these people have backstories and stuff like that. I mean, you go to the Braithwaite Mansion, and there's someone locked in a porta potty out back.
Yep.
Mhm.
Like, and she's just saying random numbers and stuff like that, and there's no context there. I mean, there probably is context there. You probably just have to look for it, but I'm not gonna do that. So there's no context there for me. And I'm just like, you can tell something happened here, but that's not my
Um,
business.
I'll look it up and like I'll leave it down in the comments for this video. But I just saw the video for the lore like last week, but then I forgot about it. There's definitely like a big storyline behind her. I'll leave it in like the comment for this video.
Okay, yeah, that way the people watching can know, if they don't know the story, they can figure it
Oh,
out
and I'll
because
look it up right after this too.
I never paid much mind to what all was going on there, but it's intriguing because you see that stuff all over the map and these random events where there's definitely something going on here, but I'm good at not knowing what it is.
Actually,
This is
isn't
a
it what is it, outside of Valentine or one of the starting towns? There's a cottage where you go underneath. There's like a whole cult set up with
yep,
dead bodies hanging from the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
hmm
yep.
Yeah, but that has no like context at all. Like there's no mission there,
Yeah.
there's no anything. That's just there, and you're just like,
It's just, it's just
because
a
I
random
remember.
building.
Well, because I remember the first time I went there was with you, Joe, and
Yeah.
I'm just like, what am I
What
looking
is
at right now? I'm like, I feel like we should leave.
Yep.
But there's even a church, like, it's when you're doing some of the debt collecting missions, and you have to get the debt out from inside one of the trees. Like you get a map, and the guy has the debt inside a tree. Then there's a church right next to that tree. It's like a broken down, run down, rugged church,
Yep.
and you walk inside of it, and it's almost like you walked into the scene of a horror movie because the screen, the colors of the entire screen just change. It goes to like this dingy blue color with this green kind of outline, and like you feel like you're walking into like the afterlife or some sort, and it's just like haunting almost. And there's no context behind it, but you can tell something's going on there, but there's no context behind it. It's a lot of interesting little things like that that the game put in that just helps with the putting you into that environment
it?
and saying there's things going on.
It just makes the whole world more interesting. Because I remember before I got the game, I remember watching some videos on YouTube, and there's supposedly, I haven't found it myself, but there's supposedly a like robotic man or something robotic in one of the like on the snow type mountains or something, just like sent back from the future. It's just randomly lying on the ground somewhere.
Well, they also have Was I with? Yeah, I would think I was with you, Joe, because it was on one of the hunting trips we went on where we saw this giant skeleton.
Oh yeah.
No explanation as to what it was. It was just a giant skeleton. It was like the size of three human beings. Like it was about as tall as three human beings, and it was just no explanation. It looked like a giant human skeleton. And, yeah, it was Bigfoot. We found Bigfoot. We found
Bigfoot.
dead Bigfoot. We
um,
But like it was weird though. Like if we ever get when we ever get back on, we'll have to show you if we can find it again. I know it was in
yeah.
the snowy area.
So I want to go to something that was a lot of fun that we all ended up doing. Uh, y'all remember my moonshine shack?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
The Moonshine Shack was a lot of fun. Not only did you get to deliver moonshine and make moonshine and all that stuff, but you had a bar downstairs. Now, in that bar was when we had some of our more fun,
Fun
inappropriate
times.
In-
time. Yeah,
Interesting.
inappropriate in their ways because like we'd go down there, we'd get drunk, and then we'd be slapping the shit out of each other and then turn around trying to hug and make up. We'd be playing the instruments and dancing and all that stuff. Like they had so many things that you could do if you just got bored. Like if you didn't feel like going and running missions or anything like that, you just go down to the Moonshine Shack and just party it up.
Yeah,
That was
literally,
a lot of fun.
it was nice there, and it was nice going into random bars and towns. Just start
Yeah.
drinking in the towns and then just starting bar fights with random people. Like not even like real player, like random NPCs. Like just starting a bar fight with them and just having the whole bar starting duking it out. It was a lot of fun doing that stuff too. But we would enjoy but I think I really did enjoy the moments where we would just go down there. I think most of the time Savage was the bartender in that scenario,
Mhm.
and he would slide the drinks down to us or place them right in front of us. We'd all start going at it, and then next thing you know, we'd be slapping each other for like probably 5 minutes, and then hugging each other for two. But it
Slapping
was
each other
always
again.
yeah, and then go right back to slapping each other. It was a lot of fun. But speaking of fun things that we have done in Red Dead Redemption, hide and go seek.
Oh.
So me and Joe started this actually. Um, when we would relentlessly go after each other. And one day I did it a little too much. So I decided to run away from Joe as far away as I could humanly possibly get. And I told him he would never find me. I was wrong. But it did take him a while. It did turn into this elaborate game of hide and go seek that I think we played for the next 3 hours that night.
Mhm.
And it was a lot of fun. We made the ground rules for it. It was what were the ground rules again, Joe? It was we had
I
to
think
give them
it's
a few hints. That was one of
I think
them.
I think we had to give hints out like every 15, 30 minutes or so. And it actually had to be like you can't say as like your hint like, "Oh, I see like the sky," or you say like you say a hint of like, "Oh, I'm by a waterfall, but you're in the desert." Like you have to say something that you see or you're next to or nearby.
Yeah, your hints couldn't be a lie, basically. Your hints had to be the truth,
Mhm.
and if any of them were a lie, then we basically kicked you out of the game. But yeah, the hints couldn't be a lie. You had to give us, I think it was 5 hints in total,
Mhm.
and then if they didn't find them after 5 hints, and they couldn't find them within a certain time after 5 hints, then the hider won. And if they could find him, then the hider lost. And that's how the game started.
Mhm.
Then it turned into kind of a hide and go seek tag once Moose joined, and the tag was our weapons. And basically, if you got found, you had time to run, but good luck.
Yeah.
But
We're
that
gonna
was what
shoot
we
and kill
started
you.
doing. And that started with Moose shooting us while we were hiding. But it was a
Do it
fun
again too.
thing to start,
Peekaboo, I
honestly.
see you.
Well, literally, I don't even remember who I think it was Camo, actually, who he ended up
No,
getting.
did
I
we
mean, it
do?
might
Did
have
we do a
been,
camo?
yeah, we did it
I
with
think
Camo.
Okay.
Because for a while there, it was me, Moose, Joe, and Camo. And then Savage joined our little crew, and I'm not sure how much Joe or Moose played with Savage, but I played a decent bit with
much.
Savage. And
Um,
I don't think we ever played hide and seek though. I think it was more of we were grinding out missions to try to get as much gold and cash as possible to buy all the stuff, and I still ended up just buying clothes. A lot of
who
clothes.
who was that one kid we were playing with who hit at like the very like southern part of the desert and just like completely lied about all of his hints?
That was Camo.
Was that camo?
Yeah, that was Camo. Because
No.
we're like, dude, we were like, dude, you said you weren't here. He's like, I lied. And then we just all of us went after him.
Hmm.
So yeah, no, that was Camo. But it
Oh,
was a lot of fun though, because we would you had the whole map as your area you could hide. You just had to the first hint had to be which section of the map you were in.
Hmm.
And
Like the
that's
name of the
where it started.
region.
Yeah.
It was the name of the region. Then you got to like the town, and then like what landmarks were near you.
Yeah. Yeah, it was what town you were closest to, and if you weren't close to a town, then you had to like because they had the smaller areas. You had to tell us where
Mhm.
what smaller area you were nearest to, and then landmarks. And usually it didn't stem much beyond that, but I mean, I remember hundreds of times, not hundreds of times, obviously that's an exaggeration, but I remember times where I would like full on think I could go after somebody and just, and there was a cliff there. Because I remember that when I was seeking Joe one time. Which brings us into the next segment. What was y'all's worst fails in this game? What is the most embarrassing moment that you're just like, how does that even happen in this
got a
game?
pretty good one.
What is it?
Um, like I think we were just like messing around one time, and then I wasn't even paying attention, and I like was just walking around, and I ended up walking right in front of the train right as soon as it was passing. I got ran over by the train right as soon as it was passing.
Hmm. I think that's one of mine up there as one of mine too, actually. I
Yeah,
was
just getting run over by the train.
for me there was a player that was AFK. So I did what most people do when there's a player that's AFK.
I'm up.
I lassoed him and I carried him into the ocean because I was by Saint Denis docks. And
Obvious.
then I turned around, ran away because I didn't want him to get me. So I ran to my horse. My horse gets run over by a train, which I'm on hopping onto my horse as it gets run over by the train. So me and my horse die. What about the rest of you two? What was the most embarrassing fail you've ever had?
I feel like there's a theme here because
You get run over by the train too.
yeah, I was up in like the northern eastern part of the map. I was hunting elk, and the elk died on the tracks. So I was skinning the elk, and all of a sudden I hear this sound in the back of my head, and then I just get flattened by the train as I'm skinning the elk.
Does yours follow the theme of Train Savage?
One of them does. I'll give you two examples. I will say one that was not. So both of these were actually when I was doing the delivery mission for the trading, for Crips's trading company or whatever. The first one was had to go around this like big turn on the cliff, and I kind of went a little too fast and dumped the entire uh, buggy behind me, and it carried
Oh
me
my
with it,
god.
and I went all the way down the cliff. Everything broke, and I ended up having to pick the bags up. I was doing this delivery by myself, so there was 3 bags that I had to try and pick up, and
Hmm.
I only got 2 of them delivered. Luckily, I was close enough to where I could at least get the 2 delivered. But yeah, and then the other one was So, as y'all can tell, I chew tobacco. I stopped on the train tracks, not thinking one was coming, and went to go spit, and not even paying attention. Out of nowhere, train comes, hits the freaking cart, and kills me, and destroys the cart. And
Man,
that
none of
one, I
us
was
have
a
any luck
long
with
way.
trains.
And that one, I was a
Eh,
long way away from my destination. I
Mm.
quit after that. I turned the game off and everything. I was just like, I'm done.
That's a rage-worthy moment, I feel like, though. Like,
yeah.
that's definitely a
Yeah.
rage-worthy moment. Like, I
Well,
remember,
it was during
I
double
was,
XP. Sorry,
Mm.
it was during double XP on those
Yeah.
missions, so that was like $1,200 worth of cargo that just got destroyed by a train. I was mad. So yeah,
I, I remember I was doing one of Crips's missions. I was going for the long trip because that's what you do. And oh, it was so sad. I was like, you know what? This is wide open field. I'm gonna cut across this wide open field because it's just easier than going all following the road. Word of advice when it comes to a Rockstar game: always follow the road.
Yep.
I didn't decided not to follow the road. And there was a very, very, very steep cliff with very, very sharp rocks right before it. So usually your horse will catch itself before going over the cliff. It'll hop back and whatever. Even if it has a wagon behind it, it'll do that most of the time. Unless there's rocky spots at the end of the cliff, which disorient everything, which for some reason the code doesn't catch on to that. Um,
I'm good.
and so when the code doesn't catch on to that, it basically sends your horse right off the cliff. So yeah, that happened to me, and I lost a lot of money. So it was not fun.
Yeah.
Several monies.
Several monies actually. Anyone else fall off a cliff that size, or is it just me?
Well, I just told you about the
Yeah.
time I fell off the cliff with my wagon. So I obviously have decided to yeet my horse and my buggy. So yeah.
It for me, it wasn't a cliff; it was a bridge by accident. But I was delivering the moonshine, and I tried to go around this group of bandits, and I got onto the bridge. I went around and got onto the bridge at a bad angle. So when I got my wagon up the bridge, it kind of got caught on the edge and then just slid off and pulled me with it.
I hate that so much. Those
Yeah.
wagons, though, those wagons will really like send you sometimes. And the worst part is when the horse comes detached from the wagon,
Oh.
and then like, because you're not getting it back hooked up, because the horse
No.
doesn't back up. The horse and wagon back up, but the horse does not back up itself.
And
So,
the worst part with that is like it could be the most random thing separating you. Like it doesn't even have to be anything major. Uh,
mm,
I've had moments where the freaking horse would uh separate itself from the wagon just because I was taking a sharp turn.
yeah, no, that happens all the time. It's so frustrating. And it's even worse when it's like multiple horses on the wagon, because if so much as one horse becomes disconnected, it disorients the entire thing. Because like there's those four horse wagons, like you have the big wagons with the four horses are on them, and you go under, like you hit a divot like just the right way, and one horse will fall, the other horses will go over that horse. It just messes up everything. It's not a good time. Those wagons are the worst, which is why I almost always rather ride the horse solo.
Let's talk about a good time though. You guys mentioned bounty hunting earlier. Some of these bounty missions that we had to do, some of them were, extremely hard, extremely difficult. Some of them were a lot easier than others. I remember Big Yukon having to hunt him, having to go after him and try not to get eaten by his grizzly bears. And then at the end, you had to keep him from killing the marshal, but you couldn't kill him.
Yeah.
You had to take him alive. And it was one of those things you had to take him alive. You couldn't kill him, nothing. Because most of the time it was you had to, by any means necessary. And usually with just that, at least that one, you had to kill him. So he was definitely a difficult one. What was some other difficult ones as far as the bounty missions go?
I would have to say that guy in the swamp with the alligators. I can't remember what his name was though.
Yeah, that was good. That was.
You show
he the
up,
one-
he drugs you.
Yes,
Yep.
he is the one that drugs you.
And then so it was so trippy too, because you would see all these gigantic animals all around you and everything like that, and then you had to guess where he was coming from and shoot him, and it didn't kill him because you're drugged. So once you shot him, he would go poof, disappear.
Mm-hmm.
And then he'd pop up in another spot coming after you. And if you let him get near you, all it took was one stab with his knife or whatever, and you were dead.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that one was a tough one. The Grizzlies was
Especially
a tough
on
one.
5-star.
The guy in the snow with all the wolves was a bit of a pain too, because the wolves just kept coming. Like they weren't stopping until the bounty was either caught or dead. And even when you caught him, the wolves would still chase you. So like that was honestly a tough one for me. Not the most tough one. I honestly think the grizzly one was a tough one, the toughest one, because I remember running that with you, Savage, and we redid that mission a ridiculous amount of times. And eventually, I think it was Dan was like, "Well, what if we just shoot the marshal?" And we did that, and we didn't get a high pay cut, but we were still able to finish the mission at least. Like the marshal was dead, unfortunately, but I mean, at least Yukon was alive. So he literally just shot the marshal instead. That's how we finished the mission. Like, well, whatever. It worked.
I think an easy one that we had to deal with. Now it was long because you had to go after 4 different members of the gang, but it was like this family. I can't remember the name, but they didn't really put up much of a fight. I think the biggest thing with that one was the amount of traveling that you did, and it was not one that you had to do by yourself. You needed people with you, because you could send one person to A, one person to B, one person to C, and you'd go to D, or whatever order that you decide to do that. The only difficult part with that is making sure that whoever went to which destination, they did not kill the bounty, because unwritten rule: make sure the bounty is alive. More money.
I mean, you get to choose for most bounties. You get to choose, but at least our unwritten rule is the bounty stays alive at all costs. Even if you risk your own life, the bounty stays alive because you make
get more money.
what is it? What is it, like 25% more earnings from
Something
it
like that,
if you leave them alive?
Especially when it was double money.
Yeah, and another fun fact I learned is the longer you're in the mission for, the more money you earn as well. Which was another interesting fact I didn't think was a thing, because I've never heard of it before. But with Red Dead, apparently the longer you're in the mission, the more money you make from said mission as well. So leaving the bounty alive and being in the mission unreasonably long, basically you want to be in the mission until the timer shows up. Because the timer doesn't show up until like the last 10 minutes. And you still have a lot of time before that. But if you're in the mission till the timer shows up, then you basically will earn I think it depends on how much you let the timer tick down, but you earn more money from that as well. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. And
you get bored sometimes though doing that, because you just sit outside the jail cell before actually tossing in the bounty.
Well, yeah.
15
Yeah,
minutes.
that's true actually. Yeah, and it gets it gets so boring being in missions that long anyway, but most people don't go hunting for missions like more money in missions like that. They just grind out the missions. But if you know the secrets, it's just for me, it's personally just a waste of time. I did it like twice and it's just a waste of time. Like some of those bounty missions are just so easy. You got the guy, you're literally just screwing around with him after that point. Like I literally took a guy, just kept picking him up and dropping him, picking him up and dropping him. Sometimes I'd cut him loose and then so him again. That's just for the hell of it. Because I'm like, well, this guy's I got time to burn. Go on, run, run.
See how far you get.
Hit him again. But like you did earn extra money from it. But I don't know if the extra money was really worth it realistically.
In my opinion, probably not, because you can just like turn in the bounty right when you get to town, and then you can just start a new bounty.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it didn't necessarily always work that way with the legendary bounties. And by always, I mean never, because there was always that buffer,
Yeah.
where it was like you have to wait a little longer, and it never specified how much a little longer was. So you just kept doing things until it was like, okay, I'll just do it when I do it, I guess. But those little bounties did earn you a decent chunk of change as well if you grinded them out. But
Mhm.
that was probably my favorite job. I guess is that what you would call it? My favorite job that you could do. Although the blood
Yeah,
money missions they added later were pretty good as well.
yeah, and like with so like with each job, whether it's the trading one, naturalist, or anything like that, the higher up you become, the higher your rank is in that specific field, the more stuff you can unlock to buy. Um, Bounty hunters had the coolest stuff that you can unlock. Belt, like from the belt buckles with the skull and the snake going through it. Stuff for your saddle, um, gun holsters, and just they had some of the coolest stuff, um, and everything like that. So it's like, you know,
Didn't they also have the hat with like the
Yeah.
yeah,
ammo around it?
hmm
Mhm.
yeah.
Oh, I
So
love that.
yeah, so like for me, like the bounties were okay, but I hated having to grind them. But it's like I wanted the stuff. It's like I want the stuff, but I don't want to work for it. You
Yeah,
know?
no, in my opinion as well, the bounty hunters had some of the coolest stuff. Um, the other jobs that I mean, some of the stuff looked all right, but like nothing was as cool as the bounty hunters because the bounty hunters also had like leather stuff, so it had a shine
Mhm.
to it as well.
Hmm.
It just looked clean. It looked really clean.
I think probably the second best stuff would be from the collector, like those missions,
Yeah, there was some cool collector stuff.
because they had
Naturalist wasn't all that great.
Moonshiner
Yeah,
wasn't
no.
either.
No.
No.
Moonshiner kind of made you look like an upscale citizen, kind of ish, with like
uh,
the bowler hats and stuff like that. And if I'm going for a
No.
Western movie, I don't want a bowler hat. I want a big hat.
Yeah. That big 10-gallon hat.
yeah.
Yeah, like I am the Barbosa of cowboys. I want the biggest hat. That is what I want. Like I want a really big hat. 'Cause like when it comes to Westerns, it's all about the hat, let's be honest. It's all about having the coolest hat. Well, that and the quickest draw.
Ooh, that's actually a good segue right there. Um, so y'all remember? I don't know if you did it so much because I don't think I don't remember in online being able to do it. But when in Red Dead Redemption 1, there were so many gunfights that you ended up getting into, and you had to be quick on the draw and everything like that. Those were actually a lot of fun too.
They implemented that a little in Red Dead 2, but it was definitely more of a focus in Red Dead 1. You still had what was it called? Eagle Eye or
Mm-hmm.
Dead Eye or something like that. It was
Did
called
I?
one of those two. And everything went into slow-mo and whatnot, but it wasn't definitely like an official like what's it called? Standoff. Like Red Dead 1 had. Red Dead 2 was more of a well, if you see the opportunity, you can take it, but there's no official standoffs or anything like that. It's just kind of something that if you see the opportunity, do it.
Yeah, and then in one, like you would actually like you'd be in the town and just some drunk asshole would like come up to you, be like, "I don't like the way you look. Meet me out here. We're gonna fight this out. We're gonna duel." And then you just
Yeah,
get out there and just shoot him right square in the head.
yeah, I think the most Red Dead 2 ever went into that was for the quests where you had to find the best gunslingers in the world for this guy trying to write a book on this one gunslinger who's allegedly actually the best gunslinger in the world. And you had to do all these standoffs and stuff like that. And you could choose to either disarm them or kill them. Regardless, you had to meet all these gunslingers. That's about the closest you ever really got to a sincere uh gunfight like that. Traditional Western standoff sort of thing. Um, but it was never really a primary focus. I feel like that game grew more towards the outlaws on the run sort of thing than the typical Western standoff sort of traditional thing you see in most Western movies, like The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, Outlaw Josie Wales, stuff like that.
Wide Earp.
Yeah.
Good old Wide Earp. That was a good movie. Tombstone.
I remember actually while since we're talking about Westerns today as well with Red Dead, I think another good one was well this is wasn't a movie, but when I went to what was it called? Was it OK Corral or something like that? And you
Yeah.
actually get to go to the scene of that fight. It was very interesting to see that as well and see how you look at all those buildings and see how Red Dead really did draw from the environment at the time. It was a very well done job, if you ask me, trying to like bring you into the Western world.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the OK Corral fight. Especially in Tombstone. I mean, Tombstone definitely really really gave you a good perspective of the whole Wyatt Earp story. Wyatt Earp, the movie Wyatt Earp was really cool, but I don't know. I felt like Tombstone was a lot better. Definitely gave you more of a Western feel.
Yeah, and Westerns have always been huge for me. Like I love like the whole genre for it and like the attire and the time period and all of that stuff has always been really interesting to me. The Western expansion, stuff like that. It was all very interesting to me growing up as well. So at a young age, I was really into cowboys and stuff like that. And so when I found out about games like Red Dead existing, naturally I couldn't hesitate and I had to put myself into that experience. And I think they did a good job. Now, which I want to see like which game you liked better as a whole. Like which between the onlines, the story modes, just collectively, which game would you think was I don't want to say in the sense better, but which one do you think you would if they were put on the same playing field, which one you would rather play?
Well, me personally, I didn't really go through the story mode of the second one. So, I mean, I'm going to stand back and probably say the first one. I do want to go and play the second one so I can actually make that comparison. I'm sure the second one was a lot better with things that you could do and everything like that. But the first one, just the story was so good on the first one. Um, I really enjoyed it. Uh, so I mean, that's my opinion. Like I said, not much to base it off of because I only played the one. Did not play the second one, but that's me.
Yeah.
I feel like the second mainly because I feel more immersed when I get like into relationship with some of the characters. And then like we've said before, like you have to shower so you don't smell, you have to eat so you don't
hmm Yeah,
so
that was definitely pretty good too. How about you, Moose?
Yeah, I definitely like the immersion on the second one better, and I definitely the like overall story, but I really like the like graphical differences too. Like I like the graphics on the second one better. Like it makes it a lot easier to play too.
hmm Yeah, I think RDR2 as a whole was my favorite, but if I could take elements from each game, and honestly, if they remastered the campaign at the graphics for RDR2 for RDR1, I would
Yep.
definitely play the RDR1 campaign again. It's
Yeah.
just once you get to a certain time and the game is so old, the graphics are so old, you just unfortunately don't gravitate towards those games as much. But if they would remaster RDR1 to look like RDR2, I would definitely even return back to that game. Like it was a quality story, very well done, and very intense, honestly. Like not to say RDR2 wasn't intense, but some of the things John Marston had to go through in that first game, I just would love a remastered game with remastered graphics. I think it would be a very well done job. But with that being said, we're coming up on the end here today, folks. It was a lot of fun talking about this. I had a great time. I hope all y'all enjoy watching this episode. With that being said, we're gonna end with our poll here. We want to know between RDR1 and RDR2, what death hit you the hardest? What character death hit you the hardest, and why? We want to know.
Well,
Put it down below in the comments.
before we go, I actually looked it up, and the girl in the outhouse, like lists off numbers 1 through 5, and it's related to outhouses in Butcher's Creek, and it's like related to like like if you draw it out on the map, it makes a pentagram. So she's trying to say like she's not crazy, she's just possessed.
Oh shit.
More you know, huh? More you know.
I
But
could post the link to everything in the comments, but
all right, well, that is an interesting fact, and I never thought that was the case. But the more you know.
more you
Um,
know.
but anyway, yes. So, what
Yeah.
death hit you the hardest, and why? We want to know. We'll see y'all in the next episode. Stay tuned; it'll be a good one. Peace.